All
Yo,
right, everybody. Welcome to Real Brothers Live. Real Brothers for the Real World. I'm TL. That's my man Stace.
what's up,
And
y'all?
we down here in North Philadelphia
I'm
where we was
Philly.
raised, down here in Strawberry Mansion. And
Sorry.
if you can hear the music in the background, hey, this thing was big time, man. Uh, so we down here supporting, and we're gonna try to have a good show. What's up,
Sorry.
Stace?
Yo, what's up, Nike? Yo, first of all, like Terry said, please be patient with us. We decided to come out here and broadcast live for the Strawberry Mansion community event. My man Phil told us about it. It was a bunch of brothers that got together to put this on. So we felt like we wanted to be down here. So please
That's
forgive
right.
us for the quality of this show versus the other ones. But we felt like we had to be on it. That's another reason why we're here a little earlier. But
Yeah,
like
we
Terry
had to come
said,
down to support.
we we had to be here. We got a couple topics that we're gonna get into today. So like normal, if we can see what we're doing, because we can't even see our screens. Uh, if we could get feel our way through this thing, we're gonna put the link out there. So
It's
join
all
in.
good.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's not
Join
depicting
in.
content.
Right, right. We want you to join in, but before we do that, we expect it to be joined by Two Ray, T Ray, Two Ray,
All right.
Torre, Torre.
Yeah, he's in a few minutes.
Yeah, he should be getting on in a few minutes. He wrote a book
Uh,
about Prince, so he's gonna join us and have that conversation. Then after that, we have as one of our topics uh, uh, a little pop culture type situation. Sitting at the tables with us, you can't see us, is our man Snooze. What's up, Snooze?
what's up,
Yes,
Snooze?
Snooze is on the other side. Strawberry Mansion's finest point guard. So
Hey,
hopefully Snooze will join us in a little bit also. We sent the link over to Phil so that Phil could join us and also talk about one of the reasons why they thought it was
yeah,
important.
he's one of the organizers, and they came up big time, man.
Right,
This is
yeah, it was a real nice.
really good event. It's
They
winding
had
down now, but man, they had basketball games out here. They had barber cutting hair. They
right
had, I mean,
expungement clinics.
expungement clinic, all
Yeah, I
kinds
think
of
they
stuff.
were registering people to vote.
Yeah,
So and actually that's going to dovetail into one of our conversations when we talk about the importance of community. So when Phil, Blade, Mo, when they talked about putting this on and Phil asked us about it, we said, yeah, we had to come down here. So we're waiting for Two Ray to join us so we can get into our first topic. So, Knight, while we wait for Two Ray, man, give me a
yeah.
little feedback of what you picked up from today's event, man.
That it's all about community, man. Like we don't have to be out here killing each other. You know what I'm saying? We 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 all family. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
We all are family. Like it don't matter where you come from or what status you achieve or none of that shit. Because if you black, you black. You know what I mean? And that makes you a part of a certain culture. That makes you a part of a certain family. And we gotta appreciate that more, man. Especially the younger guys, man.
right,
Because we don't we don't need killing each other. You know what I mean? There's no cause to kill. There's nothing mad enough. There's nothing that somebody could do other than kill somebody that's in your family to make you want to kill them. I mean, if they stole from you, all right, they stole from you. All right, you know what I mean? You'll make that up or whatever, or to cut ties. But that ain't worth whatever it is. It ain't worth taking somebody's life for.
right,
You know what
right.
I mean?
And actually, they did something big today. They had a presentation. Some of the fellas that used to play ball down here, they presented them with it looks like some kind of little plaque or something. But they also talked about that. One of the players said that. They talked about how to the young people, it's about being together, coming together. Because like you said, when it all shakes out, we're all who we have. We only have each other. Put it that way. So we have to be mindful of that. But what I would say is, it was real nice, man, to get down here and we because this is what we used to do. This was a part of our culture.
This is a
We,
part.
you
This is
know,
a big part of us growing up, man.
that's
Like
right. When
this
we
is
came
where
up,
we was
night,
at. Yeah.
every neighborhood had a festival. Diamond Street, we had the
Block
celebration of life.
parties, all that.
We
Yeah,
had block
yeah.
parties. But then we would have the larger ones, which took up a bunch of blocks on the larger streets.
Right.
Celebration of Life, Susquehanna, 33rd and 33rd and Diamond.
Yeah, they would shut Diamond Street down for a
Right, right, right.
long stretch of blocks.
And
Yeah,
fortunately, then, as we said though, that is what it was to meant to have been a part of a community. You know, and in talking to
yeah.
Mo said that they don't want this to be the last one. And I told him, look, if there's anything that we can do to help out, please let us know. So I'm sure that we'll be talking to Phil. So when they get ready to start ramping up for the next one, man, hopefully we can play some small role, man. We'll help however we can.
Yeah, and one thing I want to say, man, I don't live down here no more. I live in North Carolina, but this is my home. Like this is my home. This is where I was. I wouldn't be me if I wasn't from down here. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? I I wouldn't have the personality I have. I wouldn't have the success I have or
right,
had, and I
right,
wouldn't have failures either. But that's
right,
part of my growing up. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the obstacles that I had to overcome, or that we had to overcome. You
right.
know what I'm saying? That makes you stronger. That makes you
You know,
better. That makes you more
a
accomplished.
survivor. I
A
mean, you know,
survivor.
though,
Right.
and that's one of the things that people say, man. And I think that shouldn't go unrepeated. You know, somebody used to
Right.
say, if it doesn't kill you, it only makes you stronger. You know,
Right.
so being down here, we could bring two Ray on. Being down
Yeah,
here
Torre, I'm here.
in North Philadelphia, man, you know, like you said, if you can get out of it, if you can get out of this, then like you said, it only makes you a stronger person, man. And it also
Right.
it builds character.
It
It
does.
builds
It does.
character. You know, so I have to be honest though, man. I'm proud to say that I'm from North Philly and have been able to get out of it and still be able to come back. I don't hide my
You can
background from
always
anyone.
come back home. That's
We
right.
always come back home. That's right.
Always come back
That's right.
home.
All right, y'all.
Hey, hey, Torre.
Hey,
As you
How's
see,
it going?
hey,
As
Torre,
man,
how you doing?
one and
good.
only
How are
Torre.
you? What's going on?
Hey, we're
Look like
doing all right.
Thanks for having me back on.
no
Yeah,
problem,
no
Torre.
problem.
Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Torre, we just wanted to, let you know that we are out here at our Strawberry Mansion Community Festival,
Beautiful.
Stop the Violence, you know, event. So that's why you might hear background noise or people
Does
walking
when
up
you
or
say stop the violence, does that include walking on the crates?
No,
oh
no, no.
You want people to
no,
continue
no,
on walking on the crates is straight
no.
violence.
That's
yo,
violence. No.
Everybody goes
Hey,
you
down.
should
Torre.
see some of the
No,
memes that I've been seeing with them
I've
no.
only
crates,
seen
man.
3 people make it across.
I
Yeah,
saw a couple. And Torre, listen, we
yo,
shot basketball on the crates. We didn't walk across them.
yeah, back when I was a kid, that was a basketball
There's a
court.
Right,
basketball
right,
court,
right,
right?
right,
Or a
right.
DJ
Yo, that's
case.
why that jumper was
So
so sweet.
where did this come from? It's like everywhere all of a sudden. Everyone's got a million crates. They try to walk across them, and everybody who falls, the first one after the top is
Looks
where it
hurt.
all goes
Yeah,
crazy.
it's like they get shaky at the top.
Right.
Do they lose confidence at
That's
the
right.
top? Because at the top it
Because you
starts.
can get to the top, but then coming
I
down,
mean,
as soon as you start to come down, it all falls. I saw one
you still had to come
where the
down.
brother was walking down and it looked like he might have been gonna make it, and somebody kicked the crate out from under him. Oh, son,
Oh, I
I'm
saw that one.
going to the
I saw it.
trunk
Oh, that was
on
terrible.
him. You gotta die. I was walking across
You would have
these
to.
crates.
You'd
You
have
gotta
to.
die.
You'd have to.
Hey Torre, the other day I swear to God, I saw a guy with no legs doing the crate challenge on like 2 crates.
On his hands.
Oh,
Yo, I didn't know how to feel about that. I was
right. He did it on his hands.
like, huh?
On his hands.
He just, yeah, he had like his nubs or whatever, and he
Oh,
got like halfway up there, and then it was a wrap.
no. But that's
But
to
I
be
didn't know how
commended.
to feel.
Did he fall?
I didn't know whether it was funny or what. You know what I mean?
I don't know what's better when
Yo,
they
man.
fall or when they don't fall. Because when they make it across, I'm like in awe,
Get a-
but I'm also like, damn, it's kind of funny when they like, damn, he
Right,
didn't
right,
fall.
right.
Yeah, right.
Kind of like to see them fall. The one my favorite one combined the two, because the brother hits the first one down, and everything starts exploding under him. And he runs down and makes
Wow.
it as
Wow.
they're falling. So, and I was like, that's the most amazing one because it combines
Yeah.
both. You know, in the movies, like the apocalyptic movies, when they're like running and the earth
Now.
is splitting beneath them. This
Yeah,
like
Mm,
yeah.
it's on my IG
right.
page,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like
Right.
the guy is running and the
Right.
crates are
Shot
falling
going
and he's
across
still
the
making
yeah.
it. I'm like, yo, you're the man. I
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah. No. Now I'll say this: the most amazing one that I saw was a young fella walking across. He was smoking. He
Rolling a
got
blunt.
to the top. He was still rolling, I guess. Rolling a blunt. Got to the bottom, lit it, and stepped off. That was to be commended. He
I don't
showed
know.
nothing but
His
confidence.
plays
He had
were
swagger.
so smooth. I don't understand why he was able to stand up
You
there on the
saw it?
top, roll his shit, and
Oh, you
calmly
saw
walk down. And I'm like, what
Let me,
did he do different than
you know
everybody
why,
else?
Teray?
He probably
You
glued
know
them
why?
joints together.
Well, you know how he was able to do it?
What?
Because that's what we do.
Yes, sir.
You know,
But,
we
I
I'm an
mean,
if
advocate
we're gonna
for
do
that.
it,
lots of us have
if we're gonna
fallen.
do it,
So would
well,
you say it was
true.
the power of the weed? It was the
But
power of
not
the
all of us can
weed
have
that helped
finesse.
him? Yo,
Right. He wasn't nervous. That's right.
All
And
right. Now, so
yeah.
I just want to ask you about your project. I know you had a Prince book coming out or is out already.
yeah,
And can you tell us a little bit about? Because I noticed that you have a couple interesting looks into Prince's life, like the
yeah,
podcast,
yeah,
the book. You know, and people had to. I saw you were speaking to Jermaine Dupri the other day
yeah,
uh, on the podcast. Um,
yeah. It's been a bunch of
so,
things.
yeah.
I did an 8 episode podcast docu-series about Prince that looks at his life talking to people close to him. That's called Who Was Prince? And that's out now. You can check that out. And I used that and I built off of that to write a book called
Mhm.
Nothing Compares to You, that is an oral history looking at Prince's
Wow.
entire life through conversations with, again, people who knew him best, musicians, girlfriends, engineers, managers, photographers, people who were close to him. And in that one, I really talk about how
Wow.
Prince left his mother's house and then goes to his father's house and gets kicked out of his father's house. And we can talk about why he got kicked out of his father's house,
Mm.
but he leaves those two places with a sense of wanting to get revenge on his parents
Oh,
because his parents, he felt, abandoned him. So he wanted to show his mother, I'm a
Mm.
valuable person. You should have been there for me. And he wants to show his father, look, you should love and respect me because his father was a musician. His mother was also a singer, but his father continued to be a musician throughout Prince's life. And he wanted his father's love and attention. And he knew becoming a rock
Wow.
star would show both of them, look at me, I'm a valuable person. You should have been there for me. So this is like the driving force of why he wants to become a musician from a rock star from age 13 to take revenge on his parents and have them, because he ends up
Wow.
growing up from age 13 on at somebody else's house, right? At Andre Simone's mother's house. Now,
Oh, well.
we could talk about extended families and tribes and, African American communities and all that, but it's very
In the
unusual
family. That's right.
to have a person 13, 14 years old living with someone who they have no biological relationship to. You may go off with grandma or
Right.
aunt,
Right.
uncle, or whatever, but to leave your
Mm-hmm.
family entirely is very unusual. That's what happened to Prince. And it's interesting too because the woman that he goes off to live with, Bernadette Anderson, is incredibly maternal and loving. People who are from that area say if you knew her at that time, you wouldn't have been surprised that a wayward person who didn't really have anywhere to go would end up at her house. She was that second mom to lots of the kids of that
Okay.
age group. At the same time, she had 6 kids of her own. She was divorced and she was pursuing an advanced degree in social work. So she was super encouraging of Prince as he's doing his first songs. And she's like up, they're up in the kitchen and he's playing her his first little songs. And she's like, this is great. You're doing great. Keep going. So she's giving him that maternal love. At the same time, she couldn't have had much time to parent him. She couldn't have had that much time to be on top of him. Like your parents are probably on top of you because you're in the house every day
Because
making
he was
sure
basically in there by himself then, right?
yeah,
Like,
so he had more time, and just one example of him having more time to himself than the average teenage kid. Morris Day talks about Prince because Morris Day, when they were like 14, 15, lived around the corner from each other. Morris Day had a 4-track recorder so they could record songs. Morris Day talked about Prince knocking on his door at 3 a.m. talking about, I just thought of a new song. You got to let me in to record my song. Now, how many
Wow.
14-year-olds
That sounds like it. That sounds like it.
yeah, but
3
that's
a.m.
yeah,
running
yeah,
around talking about let me in, record. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. And the thing that amazed me about him was he was so talented with the instruments. Like they said, he played just about every instrument. Like
Right.
you gotta have that's different. You know what I mean? That's not your normal.
That's a
Like
genius.
you
Right.
have a people, yeah, that's genius. Yeah, because you
Yeah.
have people that can play maybe a couple instruments or
yeah,
maybe the drums and the piano or something, but he played everything.
yeah,
And he made those sounds come together so sweet. You know what I mean? Yeah, he was a musical genius.
yeah.
So
Yeah,
to
like, I would put him on the level with Stevie Wonder, him and Stevie Wonder. But even Stevie Wonder couldn't play every instrument. Well, he could play him
I
on
mean,
every
the
instrument
thing
on
they
the
the
keyboard.
thing they say about Prince is that here's an incredible amount of talent, an incredible amount of drive, and incredibly hardworking. So the people around him were kind
Right.
of like, like, this is like Michael Jordan. Like he comes to the gym with more talent than everybody else, and then he
Right.
works harder than everybody else, and he's driven
right.
Right.
unusually
That's right.
more than
That's right.
everybody else. How
Everybody
do
else.
you mess with somebody who
Right.
has all three of those? Usually, a brother may have one of those three things,
Right.
but when the hardest
One,
worker is not usually
maybe
most
two. Right.
talented, and
Most
but when you
talented.
put
Right.
both of them together, you
Mm.
get Michael Jordan, Kobe,
Get it
Usain
together.
Bolt,
That's
whoever
right.
Serena Williams, whatever you want to talk about in terms of people who are at that elite level.
Yeah, and that's I guess that's how you get to that elite level. You got to have like all three really. You got to have that determination.
I
You got to
mean,
have that drive,
I mean,
and you have to have the talent.
Talent.
I think having all
I think
three
one of
is
the things about it is
unusual.
it really it is. It is. No, but you know what though? I think when I saw him live once, and that's when it registered to me where his heart truly lied, because he spent the first maybe the first 45 minutes of the concert walking around from person to person playing different instruments, and it struck me. It said, because wait a minute, but if you think about it, he's an artist, so he's in his element right now. He's basically just jamming. So that because he's so talented and he can do everything that he did, that's why we got the product that we were all able
I
to
mean, this is
experience
this is this
because
is
of that. You know what I
this is
mean?
a typical day in Prince's life, right? Because you do sound check.
Mhm.
Most artists will do a 30 to 60-minute sound check. It's a light
Mhm.
dress rehearsal. It's not hard. We're not supposed to break a sweat in the sound check. Prince
You
is
do a whole show, huh?
he's there before everybody else. He's already played a bunch before everyone gets there. They'll do like a 3-hour sound check, like right
Right.
up to when doors are supposed to open. They might run through the whole set. They might
Wow.
just jam on one song of Prince's or James Brown's or somebody else's the whole time because Prince really just
Right.
likes this song and let's freaking go
It's
nuts on this one joint. Then they'll do the
it's
hell out of the show
Mm.
and then they'll go
yeah,
then they'll go watch the show
Right.
on video, and then they'll go to a little club
Wow.
and do a stripped
and
down just
right a medley
Display.
of
Yeah.
doing
yeah.
a thing. And if he's not doing that, he's gone to the studio. So it's just, and this is every day music all day long. When he was a kid, they talk about we do a 6-8 hour rehearsal. When we take breaks, he doesn't. we go outside, smoke a joint, hang out, take a drink,
Look,
whatever. He doesn't. He
Tori,
stays.
we're having a little bit
Yeah,
of
a little bit
sound
of,
difficulty. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
yeah, Torre, we having some technical difficulties right now.
Okay,
I'm gonna hop
I
off.
can hear you.
Hello, can you, Tori, can you hop off and hop back
I'm
on?
off. I'm
Sure.
off. I'm off.
All right, you off?
I'm gonna come back on now.
Yo, the joint is down to 25%.
Okay.
It's almost
Yeah,
cutting
just keep
off.
going, man. No. Just keep going. So we still on. That's Torre.
Sorry about Tori. Like I said, we're on here live, man, and
It's okay.
we're on site.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So Torre, real quick, I have a
Yeah.
question for you. Did you learn anything in your research? What surprised you?
What surprised me? I mean, I'm not
Can you hear me?
sure. Yeah, I can hear you. What
Yeah.
surprised me?
Yeah, what's something that you learned that you didn't expect?
I mean,
I know one thing about him is that he was a perfectionist. Like, if somebody was playing the drums and they hit a wrong note, or somebody was playing an instrument and hit a wrong note, he was like James Brown.
James Brown, yeah.
I mean, he would turn around and be like, "Yo, tighten up." You know what I
I
mean?
mean, the thing that surprised me was how early people around him said, "Oh, there's a drug problem, and we need to do something about it." And how early,
Oh, really?
like early to mid '90s,
Wow.
folks are saying, "I think there's a problem, and you need to check yourself and like handle that." And it was never about hedonism. It was never about let's do cocaine and wild out. Let's smoke
Right.
weed and wild out. Let's do heroin and zone out. It was never about that.
And he was like a Jehovah Witness, right? So he was
That's
pretty.
later, and that's much later in
That's
life.
later.
That's
Oh,
after
okay.
he loses the baby. That's later in life.
Right.
It's about opioids, and so how can I keep my body in shape and manage the pain so that I can continue to do these shows, because I need to do these shows, because this is how I commune with the people who are my true family, my fans, the people who love my music, because I'm all about the music, and my hip is bothering the hell out of me. And that leads to the knee and the back bothering me. Been jumping off of,
I can imagine with those heels, man. Like, that's
for
not
years.
natural for a man to wear them heels like that.
I mean,
And then
like
be
one of the
jumping around.
guys from the NPG talked about like 1994 going to him and saying, the guys think you're using drugs because you're acting whatever. And I don't care if I lose my job.
So they attempted to address
Yeah,
it.
I can't know this and see something happen and not have said something. So are you okay?
And not say
And
anything.
Prince lived under the ethos of never let him see you sweat. So he was definitely like, no, I'm cool. But the brother says that after that, Prince disappeared for a week, and when he didn't communicate with them at all, which was highly unusual for the 20 years that he was with Prince.
Right.
And when Prince returned, he said that he had not worked on music or played anything for that week. And that was extraordinarily unusual, again, for the 20 years this brother was with Prince. So he feels strong that he probably, the indication was that he went to rehab in that period. But the hip continued to bother him. He continued to use opioids to try to mitigate, because he just wanted to be working. The way that I see Prince using drugs was the same way as like the guy who works at the factory, or the nurse, or the factory worker, or the UPS worker who's like, yo, I gotta get up and go work to pay
trying to do
the
the
bills
double.
for the family. But my hip, my knee, my back, whatever is killing me. So I take some opioids. I take a bunch of Aleve. I do what I can to be able to keep going. And he was like that, even though he was wealthy and a superstar. He was like that.
Yeah, and you know what's funny, and you unfortunately you hear that kind of goes to show you that no one is immune to it, because like you said, using the example that you just used though too, Ray, that
Right.
you talking about doctors and nurses just putting in extra hours. A lot of times it starts off as leaning on those types of drugs for help, but normally it doesn't end well.
No,
No one is immune to it.
no. I mean,
No
Sure.
one's immune to it.
addiction
Uh,
is
another
addiction's a motherfucker.
Hey,
right.
so let's get into these topics. Stace, why don't you go ahead and Torre, would you like to stick around and discuss some of these topics with us?
What you got?
I
Let's
don't know if
see
you.
here.
Well,
We
actually,
got yeah.
Ray, while you're on, we do have one. The first one that, since we were talking to you about Prince, we would like your feedback on our first one, which
Oh
is
yeah.
Prince Prince versus MJ.
Well, I mean,
Versus who you
Versus.
got?
well, of course, I have Prince. There's
Oh,
way more music.
Okay.
There's
the catalog is bigger.
Yeah, I mean, just there's way more great songs. I mean, like Prince was coming out every year for like 12 years. He did like an album every year or something like that. MJ was doing one every 4 years. So he can't compete in terms of the amount of music.
Right.
Um, Prince is
I was gonna
playing
say so. Wait a
every
minute though.
ins-
So
Prince is playing every instrument. Michael's a
okay.
genius, but he's not. Um, but I mean,
Mm.
if we went back 20 years and I said, like Michael will turn out to be the truly weirdo one, you'd be like, nah, it had to be Prince. And like, I,
Yeah.
I'm truly like, how do we listen to Michael's music and play Michael's music like in public, like it's all good? Like at the last Halloween that we
Oh no,
had for the
that's
kids,
interesting.
they're playing Thriller, and I'm like, how is this okay? This is not okay. This is very triggering. Like
Now,
Michael, I cannot
It's
listen to
very
that music
triggering.
anymore. I can't do it. It's changed. It's
wow.
entirely changed.
Now that's now. So it does. So okay, we talked about this one time before. That's interesting. But now, I guess two things. I think when you try to compare the two, it depends on, from my perspective, how you're comparing them. If you're looking at library, of course, Prince has that much more. But if you're looking at from an entertainment standpoint, the conversation changes a little bit because I mean I don't know if I can honestly say that Prince, from my perspective, was a better entertainer than MJ. No,
I mean, he was for me, but I mean, I
I
come
thought
back. I mean, I cannot erase what I know now, and I don't know
mm, mm.
how do you listen to Michael Jackson now and not think
and
about
not reconciled. Yeah,
all
what?
that we know? And I was just talking about
See
this with
now,
a friend of
oddly enough,
mine.
too, Ray.
I was just talking about this with a friend of mine. He's like, lots of artists have done lots of bad things. I challenge you
Correct.
to find somebody who's done, I mean, like, this is like the ultimate crime in society, even worse than murder. Like, and this is serial
Now,
behavior over
see, but
many,
now,
many years. How do we just say, okay, like that happened. Oh, well, move on.
see, but now, see, but as a fan of both of theirs, I don't necessarily tie in the music to the person. A person creates something and that stands alone. I don't I don't listen to the music because I like the person. I listen to the person because I like what they're producing.
Right.
So for me, it's not I like want to be starting something by Michael Jackson because it's Michael Jackson. No, I think the beat is nice. When
I
I'm
mean,
DJing, it blends in
I think
well. The people
that's
dance to it.
I think that's interesting
That's also like R. Kelly. Can you still listen to his music without being like, man,
I mean, no, it's very hard.
Yes.
yeah, it's like,
I can't make that
You say no?
separation. You can't listen
it's
to
like,
you and
yeah,
not think about who you are. But the other thing with Michael, it's not like, oh, I got drunk one night and did something that I regret, and I'm very sorry for that. Like, he constructed his
Right,
entire
right,
life
right.
as a way of luring in kids. He acted childlike. He created this
Mm,
Neverland that was a
mm,
child amusement park.
right,
Everything was all the music about, like, where's my childhood? It's all about luring in kids. So it's not just like the music is here
mm,
and this other weird thing in his life is way over here. Like, I cannot separate the two. I think it's hard in general to separate the two. I
mm,
think part of why we like people
mm.
is because of what they do off stage, especially as like hip hop generation people. Like, that authenticity, it's not just music. Like, Jay-Z really did that. Like,
right.
Well,
Nas really did that.
well,
Like,
but you know
you
what though?
don't.
Now that's an interesting. But you know what though? But you made it. Excuse me. But the difference is though, and I agree with what you just said. That's interesting. Hip hop and that culture is braggadocious. It's talking about. It's stories about your life.
Yeah,
R&B singing is when Teddy Pendergrass says, you got. I hope he's not saying that, to women in all actuality. So I think those two are a little different though. I don't look at
I
the
know what you're
authenticity
saying.
of an R&B artist the same way that I do someone rapping.
No, I know what you're saying, and I think there is more artifice in R&B. I
hmm
don't think that it's like total
Correct.
acting to where if I caught Maxwell on an off day, he's thugged out and hard, and like, you are nothing like the records. You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
it's
right,
hard to
right, right,
always
right.
be a real Jekyll and Hyde. Like who you are, like, comes through the more you're on stage.
As a hip hop
And
artist, you saying? As a hip hop
yeah,
artist.
I think that
See,
if
but I think R&B.
good.
But
What you about to say?
I think we got a little delay.
Oh, a little
Sorry about that. I'm
delay.
gonna cut you off, Teray.
No,
Yeah,
I see. I think that it's a bit of a cop out for us to say, I'm not going to pay attention to this man's horrendous. I mean, like, if a serial killer, who
right.
dropped 20 bodies,
Mm.
recorded a fire album, would you be
Right.
like, well, it's music, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's music. I like the music. I like the beat. I don't
Is
care
that
that he killed
Right,
20
right,
people.
right, right.
You know,
is
and
that is that hey
I,
Teray? Is that a question for me?
I mean, what?
I
I
mean,
mean,
I
you
understand
can
though.
separate
How you
that.
doing?
Um, um. So we do want to get into these topics because we're about halfway through the show.
Good.
So what's the next topic, Stace?
All right, hold up. Let me see.
You like, let me see. You
Yeah.
lunching on me. Look at you.
Let me see
All right,
something.
here it is. I got it. All right, the next topic we got Strawberry Mansion, which you may not be able to give a lot of input on that. That was the high school that we went to, and that's where this event is currently. We wanted to talk about gun violence, and also we wanted to talk about the importance of community.
Okay.
So, which one of those would you like to get into?
I
Is this
mean,
for Teray? You
we.
want to join in, or what are
I
your
mean,
thoughts?
I can always talk about guns.
Yeah. Okay. So, what can we do as a black community to curb some of this gun violence?
I mean,
I
I
mean, we're
mean,
trying here, with our show, we kind of address stuff like that, and
I
our
mean, I'm I'm
community.
I'm of the opinion that, and I think the data shows this, that the fewer guns in a community, the safer the people in that community are. And
Mhm.
if you put a gun in a home, that gun is likely to be used on the people in that home. And one of the things that my friend, the criminologist, Dr. Philip Goff, talks about is that we have seen in the last couple of years a rise in the number of homicides. This is
And the
not
number of
coming,
homicides.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
not
yeah.
coming from the traditional criminals who we think of who live in major urban communities.
Right.
This is happening from a rise in killings in the suburbs because we saw a rise in the purchase of handguns
Right.
between COVID and the Trump election.
Mhm.
And so more people in
Right.
the white suburbs are shooting
Right.
each other. And we don't think
See,
of
but
them
the difference is
we don't think of them
when
as
we kill,
criminals
when,
because they're not professional criminals. They go to work, they pay their taxes, but they got drunk, they got mad at their neighbor, they shot their neighbor, they shot their wife, they shot their husband. Thus, they are criminals.
right.
The fewer guns in a
True.
community, the safer the people in that community are.
Community are correct.
So, I would like to
Right.
see
Right.
different
Right.
ways of lessening the number of guns in a given community.
Correct. And but see, the thing that concerns me is okay, in okay, let's say in the white community, when when they shoot people like they shoot a lot of people. You know what I mean? They
Well,
it's
not
like
necessarily. That's you're talking about mass murder, but not
mass.
necessarily.
Mass.
Not
Most of the
necessarily.
times when there's a mass murder, and I hate to say it, and I'm not being racist, but
No,
this
of
is just an
course.
observation that the most time there's a mass shooting, it's a white person.
Right, but most
But
shootings are not
that's
mass
not
murder.
most shootings though. Most shootings
Yeah.
are
Most people
right.
shoot
Right.
somebody, they shoot
Right.
one
I
person.
think I do agree with right, and a lot of time it's probably people that they know. Now,
Right,
and
but
I
Right.
that's
think
not the
I
gun
agree.
violence that I was trying to address. The gun violence that I wanted to address was the gun violence in the black community because our young brothers are killing each other by the droves. So, we have to address that some way. You know what I mean?
I
Like,
I I,
how can
I
we?
I think I agree with what the direction that Toure was going though. Instead of I think we tried a lot of gave a lot of tried a lot of things that didn't work. I think the way to go about it now, we have to try something different, even if it includes going after the gun sellers. You're hearing them talking about now, they're trying to trace back to the stores that are selling these or doing the gun purchases and attacking their license as if they like the liquor licenses. I think that's a smart way to do it. That at least we
See,
have
Yeah.
to try something different.
but the one thing about that, right? I'm not against the Second Amendment, right? I believe if you want a gun, you should have a gun as long as you are a but there's no way to prove if you're a responsible person, right?
Right, right.
Like I got about 5 or 6 firearms or whatever, but like
Damn, son, you
I
prepare
don't.
for war.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah, yeah. I'm
Who
not going.
you
I'm
Yeah,
not
who
going to
you
dispute
shooting with your
that.
5 guns? You don't even
right.
know 5 or 6.
Yeah.
You're not like what
You,
kind that
don't
you
get them
tell me
Yo,
started.
man,
responsible gun owner to me.
I'm
Don't get
just
them.
That
like,
5 or which is
Sheree,
it?
don't get them started.
Do you know where they
right.
all are? Are they all
Don't
locked
get them
up? Like,
started.
what's
I
happening?
gotta, yeah,
Yeah,
easy access. So, but
yeah,
anyway,
Easy access for you and your kids. That sounds
yeah.
great.
no, for me, I my kids are gone. You know what I mean?
Right.
But they were. I had the guns locked up when they were there, but you know what I'm saying. But anyway, I believe a person should have a gun for protection. Like if
Correct.
you were protecting your house, if you were protecting your family, that's one thing.
Right.
But these guys are just out here rambling randomly
But
shooting people for like
but
minutes,
we
like somebody owed me money
but
or
we
somebody
are have but
disrespected me.
our gun problem is not only in the criminal activity you're talking about. It's also with
Right.
supposedly
Right.
responsible
Domestic.
adults who are
Right.
shooting their wives, their husbands,
Right.
their neighbors,
Friends.
somebody in the bar
Right.
who pissed
Right,
them
yeah,
off.
yeah.
Both
Right.
things are
Right.
happening. Look, the Second
We have too
Amendment
many
is one of the
guns.
greatest
Right.
problems that we have. They
And
did
that's never going away.
they
They're
did
gonna
not,
they're
yes,
never
that may
gonna they're
be,
never
but
gonna
they did not envision this world. This was not what they were talking
What,
about.
right.
They
That's
were
not what they
talking
meant.
about every because they
Right,
considered
right.
that. They considered language.
There weren't
saying
no
every
automatic
person can
weapons
have
back
a gun.
then. You know what I
They
mean?
did not. Then they rejected that. They did not
Right.
want every Tom, Dick, and Harry to be able to hold a gun and have that to protect their homes. That was not the intention. And they certainly did not envision a world where the level of firepower that you can have is to the level that you can have it. We would be safer if we eliminated citizen gun ownership altogether. We would be far safer in that world than we are.
What would that look like, though? Okay, so first off, we're in the United States, and some people just not having it, right? And then the people that already have guns, you think they're going to freely just come and say, "Oh, okay, I'm just going to give you my gun back."
I mean, look, Australia had a mass murder. I think it was about 20 years ago, maybe 25 years ago. They instituted a gun buyback program.
Shut it down.
And they got rid of all, like, thousands of guns. They eliminated private gun ownership. They have not had a mass shooting. They do not have the gun problem that we have. Look, every major country in the world has figured this out. We're the only country that's like, what can we do? We all have guns.
Right.
Oh, well, every other country's like, we figured it out. We know.
But that's because they don't want to get rid of guns. Like, everybody's under this illusion that Republicans and Democrats really are trying to get things done. They're not trying to get things done. They're trying to keep their jobs.
No, I disagree with that, though, because, you know, the country is still governed by laws and everything. And we do have, as we just said, though, the Second Amendment is there. So you have a right to own a gun. I just think that there are other things we have to do to avoid it being so many guns and the types of guns.
I think you're right.
Like you said, I don't think the Second Amendment is not going anywhere.
I think you're right in the idea that elected officials will do whatever they have to do to keep their jobs. That's
true. That is absolutely true. You guys, can you give me? I know we're live, but my cousin is here. I just want to give him 1 minute.
That is their main.
I'm listening to
ethos.
Go do your thing. Go do your thing.
As they move through their elected term. But to think that Democrats and Republicans are equally at fault on this issue is inaccurate. The NRA has been in control of the Republican Party on this issue for decades, and Republicans have been blocking any movement on this issue. And while I mean, you could say
any kind of
Second Amendment will never be repealed. I mean, everything is impossible until it happens. I'm talking. You asked me what I think we should do. This is what I think we should do.
Sorry,
listen. Also, like, have a different level of weapon that is available to regular people. Why should we be able to purchase AR-15s? Why should we be able to purchase semi-automatic weapons that can let off a large number of bullets in a period of time? Like, what is the value of that?
I'm a gun advocate, so I do believe that people should have the right to protect themselves. I don't believe that people should go out.
You don't need to protect yourself with 30 bullets in 30 seconds. You will never have 30 attackers who you need to fend off in 30 seconds. If you could fire one shot every 3 to 5 seconds, you're going to be sick. You believe.
Oh, you want to bring back the drawing where they filling up the gunpowder?
That takes a lot less. That takes a lot more time than you're talking about. But like that also would make us safer. That's the world that the Second Amendment
bring back the musket.
Not this modern world. I mean, like part of the thing you need to watch is Exterminate All the Brutes on HBO, which explains the deep relationship between the gun industry, right, which rises in America, and gentrification and the destruction of the Native community and the control of Black communities, right? That you are a gun owner is great for you. You may end up getting struck by one of those guns, but I hope not. But it's possible.
Because listen to this story.
But guns have been used to oppress Black and brown people throughout the entirety of the United States of America.
Right. But if Black people arm themselves, then they can't be oppressed by another person with like.
See, but now we're talking about
you're leveling the playing field.
That's not level the playing field.
But you're talking about more guns now. You're talking about all-out war Right.
that
Yeah.
does not level the
Now
playing
you're
field
talking
at
about
all.
all out war. So
Look,
I don't
your
think the
greatest
answer
problem in the
isn't
community,
everyone. You know,
your greatest problem in the community is the police.
it's too many
They are
guns.
far more
Too
likely
many
to be
guns.
violent against you than anybody who we would deem a professional criminal, right? The person you're most likely to run into who's going to be violent towards you is the police. Secondarily, another, let's call them suburban or non-criminal actor who is armed. Third is a criminal, right? Now, you
Right.
could probably get away in a court of law
Mm.
with having shot a criminal. You shoot your neighbor who's not a non-criminal with the gun, you may or may not get away. You cannot use your gun against the police in any lawful way. So the gun is not helping you with your number one potential predator.
Right.
Well, yeah. I just
All right. Yeah. So to Ray, man. So we're gonna
Have you
keep
ever
rolling it on,
fired
but
your gun?
remind
Hold on a
us.
second.
yes, sir.
Have you ever shot somebody? Not at the shooting range, not at the gun range. I mean, like you were in a situation where you felt threatened or you wanted to establish dominance and you fired your gun.
No.
No.
No,
No.
no.
Well,
The-
well,
no.
the guns you have,
sorry.
you've
One
never actually
thing. One
been in a
thing.
situation where you needed to use them.
No.
One
No.
thing. I haven't
No, he
always
hasn't.
been.
He hasn't.
Yeah, I haven't. Yeah.
All right.
What are
So
you,
yeah.
what are you
So
telling him to
on
say
that
no?
note,
Because he needs
we're
to
gonna
say
watch.
no.
No.
Because the
No.
statute of limitations isn't up.
Because he
No, we
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to.
he's
Are
not
you
gonna
about to
lie.
tell
He's not
you
gonna
the
lie on
dirty
this.
mouth?
I'm not.
Say
Yeah,
no.
you know.
And stay quiet.
Yeah. So I.
And that body is
No,
still warm.
no,
You
not
can't
at
let
all.
them
But,
know.
but
No.
but,
Yeah, we.
nah, he didn't. But
No, I
yo,
didn't.
as we wind things down to Ray, in closing, we would like to thank you for coming on and giving us so much time. You know, we appreciate you coming on and
Happy to
talking
do it.
about your project. Once again, what's the name of the book and when it's coming out?
The book is already out. It's
The
called
name of the book
Nothing.
and
It-
what is it?
It's
Okay.
called Nothing Compares to You. It's a biography and an oral history of Prince, covering his whole life from his early days to his tragic end. And it gives you a really deep sense of what he was going
Nice.
through, how hard he was working, his life with drugs, his life with women, getting engaged. Look, part of the book is women explaining why it was okay with them for him to have multiple women. And I was like, how is it that you knew that he
Wow.
had other girls and you were like okay with that? And they're like, you know, and they explain. And it's
Well,
not just
that's a
because
different
he was
topic.
so great in bed. It's far deeper than that.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Yep. So ladies and gentlemen, once again, to Ray, the book is called Nothing Compares to You. It's out already. You can also check them out on different podcasts. So to Ray, man, thanks for joining us again, man. We appreciate
Thanks,
it. We really
guys.
appreciate
Happy
it.
to do
Yeah,
it.
and I enjoy your podcast as well. Too.
Thank
Yes.
you, brother. I appreciate that. Thank
All
you very
right.
much.
Take care now.
All right, y'all. Peace.
All right.
Have a good one. Yeah.
All right.
So
That was
pretty
interesting.
good
Yeah.
conversation.
Pretty good.
So now, how you doing?
See,
so,
Phil didn't. Go ahead, Nike.
So Phil, we was expecting one of the guys that organized this event to be with us, but he had to leave. But you know, we're gonna just carry on like normal. And so our next topic, we're gonna talk about
Strawberry Mansion.
Strawberry Mansion, since we're down
Right.
here. Yeah.
Right.
So Stacey, you want to start and say something about
Yeah,
Strawberry
you know what?
Mansion?
I think the as we talked about earlier, just being down here and seeing the different folk, a lot of people that we hadn't seen in a long time, soaking up the air. And it kind of dovetails into something that we talked about before. Of course, you notice the change in the neighborhood. I don't think that's a negative, but there is a difference. And actually, what I would say I noticed the difference is that it seems like the area now, it's not the Strawberry Mansion that we grew up in. And maybe that has something to do with, the level of violence that we're seeing, because it seems less of a neighborhood. You don't
It's
see
like
the people coming together.
scattered. Yeah, it's like you see a lot of scattered groups. So this was a good event
And that's
that
why
brought
this was
everybody out. Right.
Correct. Correct. And that was the other topic that we were talking about, the importance of community, because they kind of go hand in hand. When we were here in Strawberry Mansion, I don't know, I have an idea of some of the reasons why, but we were forced to interact with each other. We were all we had. So it was more of that village. It was more of that village. Strawberry Mansion was a village. And it reached over to where I grew up, down 18th Street. We all connected. We walked to school together. Everyone was together. But now you see the area is gentrifying. You have different groups of people coming in, which is good. I think that's a good thing. But we do have to get back, I think, to the community aspect of it, because if not, this will what we're
It's going to
seeing
keep
now will continue.
right. It's
Exactly.
keep decaying, right? Um,
Correct.
one thing. So I don't live here anymore, right? So I live in North Carolina, and but this will always be my home. I consider this my home. Like I love the people here. This is where I grew up. This was where I became me. You know what I mean? Like everything that I am is because of this place. So I owe a lot to this place. So I would never turn my back on it. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
When we call this show Real Brothers because it's a group of us that have been together since Wednesdays.
Ninth, seventh grade, seventh, eighth grade.
Like yeah, seventh grade or so. And we all grown men now. You know what I mean? And back then, all we had was each other. You know what I mean? And we kept that bond till this day. You know, um, so I could like Strawberry Mansion is my home, my family.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think that will always be the case. You're gonna always have ties to this neighborhood. As I travel throughout life and have conversations with people, you see that often that most people or a lot of people have ties somehow or another to this area. So again, I think that we have to continue to uh, get out here and you know what? And I'll say this. I think this is why we have to lean on our politicians more, because I was talking to one of the organizers, and let's just say they didn't get the level of support that they had hoped for. So I think that with that being said, when it comes time to prepare for the next one, we have to show what we did. We have to show what we were able to
Right.
do without that support. But now think about how much bigger and better it can be with your support, because we want Strawberry Mansion to remain a neighborhood.
And
You
the
know,
only way we're going to turn things around in this neighborhood is if we get out and vote. We have to
absolutely,
vote for people that have our best interests at heart.
absolutely,
And we have to make them keep their promises. Because the
right,
one thing that politicians do, they politic.
right,
You know what I mean?
and that's fine. That's
And
okay.
but don't feed me and then all the stuff that you're gonna do, and then when it's time to do it, you're missing the action. We can't keep accepting that from any of
Well,
our politicians.
but as I always say though, Nike, that's the good thing about politics. Politics is an interactive sport. So that person that
Right,
feeds you a bunch of lines and doesn't come through, the
right.
cost to pay for that is they get voted out of office. They get voted. Everyone has to be held accountable. And that's the great thing about it. That's the great thing about it. But as it relates to Strawberry Mansion, we have to do what we have to do to maintain this neighborhood. Some people
Right.
talked about that they were thinking about tearing the school down. I remember they that came up one time before, and the community rose up and was able to stop it. That won't be the last time.
When I rode past Strawberry Mansion, man, my heart, I felt sad, man.
Why?
Just
Why is
looking at
that?
because that was where we grew up and we played ball on the basketball court. Now it's overgrown, weeds in the yard. You know what I mean? It's looking like almost like a jail if you ask me. Like
Mm.
they're not trying to renovate any. It doesn't look like they're trying to renovate anything. You know what I mean? They have a painting on the LP Hill side,
Mhm.
which is nice, but it's going to take more than that. You know what I mean? We I don't know what needs to be done to get the money to fix up the school, but we can't have a school like that in this neighborhood, man. Like
I, I know
it's
that one of our Mansionites, Adrian. and the Strawberry Mansion alumni, they were talking to the school superintendents, and that's the answer. We have to, again, you have to keep pushing. And it's difficult because everyone, life happens and you're living your life, you have things to do, and now someone's saying, come to this meeting, and it's a challenge, but that's the way. Unless you just have the resources
Right.
to go to someone and say, listen, I contributed to your campaign and you're going to hear me out, which a lot of us don't, so
But it
again,
shouldn't even
it's
be about the money. Like, so you trying to tell me that if you're poor or if you don't have money, extra money to give to somebody else, you shouldn't get a
no, 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 no. What I'm saying, it doesn't have anything to do with the money. It's all about being politically active and
right.
remaining. I think the key is that you have to remain politically active. You have to let people know that not only the election, once the actual voting ends, that's not the end of the conversation. Because now you said that you do this for the school, and if that's not done, and no attempt has been made to move forward, within the next time we go in a different direction.
Right, right.
So I think that's the answer. Someone asked how many new neighbors came out. Um,
It was 4,000 plus.
People total. But as
Yep.
far as new neighbors, I don't know. Actually, I have to be honest with you because on the way over here, Terry, I told you that I expected a more diverse showing than we
Diverse,
saw. Say it again.
diverse. Like what? You thought
Yeah,
white
I
folks?
thought. Yeah, I thought it would have been more people that we know now live in the neighborhood. I thought we'd
Well,
see
they had
more
the
stuff.
barber. The barber was white.
Yeah, I'm just talking about. I
Yeah.
don't mean the vendors. So I was a little surprised with that. But it was a nice turnout. About, like you said, about 4,000 people. Let me see. Do you
Right.
realize 500 students rented space can
Can't
go
go to
to any
any school.
school?
What
I
does
don't
that mean?
understand the question. I don't know.
Hey, here, log on to click the link and explain what you're talking about because I don't
Do
know
you
what that
realize?
means. Do you
Oh,
real
I see what you're saying. They're talking
what?
about the oh, I know what you're talking about. Toward the end or later on, it was stated that the school only had the student body of about 500 people, 500 students.
Okay. Yeah, because our
And that
graduating class didn't have that many people in it.
no, the graduating class is one thing, but we're talking about total student population.
Oh, the whole
You could
student
you could
body.
fit you could fit 500 students on one floor. So I think what
Right.
they're getting at is how economical is it to have an entire school open with only 500 pupils, and so yeah, that's true. That's a good point. That's a
Yeah.
good point. But yo, all right, like any closing words, man? We got about 2 more minutes left, man. Any closing words?
Um. Yeah, like I said, man, I love my neighborhood, man. I love the people in my neighborhood. These are good people. These are, you
These are
know,
us.
this is us. Like everybody that I see out here is a reflection of me, man. Like
That's right.
this is where I grew up. This is where like I said, this is where I came to be who I am. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's it.
Um, and the same thing, man. It was good to see this. I hope that it will continue because it's great. I think it's getting back to the basics. And unfortunately, Terry, I think, as we say, though, this is what we've always done. And it wasn't perfect, but you know what? It kept us together. So
Right,
if what we're currently doing is not working, then we need to go back to what we did before. So,
right.
like we said, we're going to keep talking to Phil and his group and see when they're going to plan on doing this next one. And if there's some kind of help that we can do, and hopefully some of you that are on here now can come out and check us out on the next one. But
Yeah.
listen, we also want to ask you to be thank you for tuning in and thank you for bearing with us. Like we said when we first started, this was
Yeah,
something
we're
that yeah,
we're live on the location, so we didn't have
yeah,
a lot of control
technical,
over some of the
yeah,
technical difficulties.
right.
But I think
It,
overall everything went pretty well. Um, we want y'all to go to our website, realbrotherslive.com, and you can check out past podcasts, or you can go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to that. We're available on Apple, Amazon, anywhere you get your podcast. We're on there. So if you like what you see, if you like our podcast, please spread the word. Tell a friend and have your friend tell a friend. You know what I
Absolutely.
mean? And we'll be having merchandise on our website soon.
Yes. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in, y'all.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Peace.
I couldn't get on.